Good morning, Ohio. It's James Lewis of the Grueling Truth Radio Network here with Mark Fightmaster, a part of the UC Bearcats on the Prowl. Mark, who's our special guest today?
Well, our guest this week is former UC football player Luke Callahan. Luke, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on, and it's good to be here.
Yeah, no problem. Real quick, if you wouldn't mind just catching us up with what you're doing now since you left UC and what's happening.
Of course. After I got done playing football at UC, originally I was a student assistant coach with the running tight ends for about a year, and then running backs for about half a year. And after that, my goal really was to kind of branch out and really kind of put myself in a discomfort zone, because I really kind of wanted to kind of explore and find different routes of football, especially from different levels of football. So kind of wanted to get humbled up a little bit. I was used to the D1 experience, which is very fulfilling, but at the same time it was pretty luxurious and pretty rewarding. But, you know, I kind of wanted to experience something a little bit different and also at the same time pursue a master's degree. So I was offered a really awesome position up here at Carroll University, Division III college football. So I'll be able to work with my own position group with tight ends and fullbacks, which I had some experience working with and really enjoyed my time working with tight ends when I was at Cincinnati. So that was something I was interested in. Somewhere in the box, you know, tight ends, offensive line, linebackers, defensive line. Something in the box has always been interesting to me. So I took that opportunity to run my own position group and also pursue a master's degree for free. So it was kind of a, you know, double whammy. And at the same time, you know, it's been really great. You know, I do miss home back in Ohio, but at the same time, it's been awesome kind of being able to explore, meet new people, meet things, and kind of explore and learn things from a different level. It's definitely been very humbling, learning all the ins and outs of actually being able to make the program function, especially when you don't have as much on staff as you do at the D1 level. So it's been good, awesome experience. I'm really enjoying it up here.
That's awesome. First of all, what are you working on your master's?
Currently getting my master's in adult education.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Good luck with that, man. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So okay. So I played D3 football and back in the early 90s. Okay. So I'm considerably older than you. So compare the D1 to the D3 experience for our listeners.
Yeah, of course. Well, you know, when you're at the D1 level, you know, I remember, you know, everything's handed to you. And not that you haven't earned it by any means, but, you know, it is a pretty luxurious lifestyle. You don't really have to worry about much. The schedule is all taken care of. And not just from a player standpoint, but especially from a coaching standpoint. You know, at the D1 level, you get so many helping hands that help make your life so easy, you know, especially when it comes to recruiting. You don't really have to go and reach out and find the names. You have someone who does that for you. That's why you have a recruiting office who goes out and finds all those names and puts those top players in a big list on a piece of paper and puts it on your desk. Makes it really easy to reach out and find those kids. But you know, at the D3 level, you have to go out and do that on your own. So that's something that was pretty eye-opening for me, realizing that this isn't just, you know, when it comes to coaching football, you know, the things that I have to compare that work both ways is that you can't just be good at teaching somebody how to get to point A to point B. You also have to be really good at, you know, selling a car, because that's basically what it is. You know, you have to be a salesman. You know, you have to be able to shake hands, rock a smile, and be able to give people the information that they want and need, and help provide young men an opportunity to pursue their dreams. So that's the comparison. You know, the contrast that I've really noticed is just how much work really goes into making a program function. And, you know, from an equipment standpoint, from a recruiting standpoint, you know, just from over like a film standpoint, you know, in so many different ways. You know, in order to make a football program work, you have to have so many things at a high level in so many different categories. And from a D1, it's pretty easy to access those things and find someone who can do it for you. At the D3 level, you have to kind of go out of your own way to make sure it happens. So it's definitely humbling, which is exactly what I was kind of looking for. and I've been enjoying it. But it is two different extremes. D1, a lot more people are watching, so every decision you make is definitely more crucial. At the D3 level, every decision you make as far as making program work is crucial because it's all upon your work ethic. So you have to be willing to put forth the effort to make things happen, and not just sit and try and get someone else to do it for you. You have to go out on your own and do it. So,
yeah. Yeah, it's a different world. It's a different world.
Yeah.
So, how's your team doing?
We're doing all right. We're 1-1 right now. When I first took this job at Carroll, the other reason why I took it is because I saw the potential. And it's kind of crazy for me to say that because I don't know anything. Going into it, I didn't really know anything about D3 football. I talked to a couple other schools when I was in the process of trying to apply and look at schools. But something that I reached out to other mentors, other guys who recruited me when I was in high school. I hung on to a lot of those cell phone numbers and reached out to a lot of different people. As far as even just like coaches from Cincinnati, it's like Darren Hinshaw, who was a quarterbacks coach at Cincinnati when I was there, and he moved on to Kentucky. I reached out to him. He gave me some great advice. Chad Wilt, who's a defensive line coach at Cincinnati now, when he was originally at Army, I reached out to him and asked for some advice. And, they gave me some really good tips. And, majority of it was don't be, in too big of a hurry to try and move from one program on to the next. Always try to be where you're at. And at the same time, always make sure that whatever you're trying to pursue, make sure that you keep yourself's future best interest in mind, not just the immediate interest in mind. Make sure you always got a plan behind what you're doing in the decision making as far as where you end up going next, because in the coaching business, you bounce around a lot, and, it happens a lot, but you want to make sure that you're not picking a place where you're going to have to be maybe on edge for a year and a half, 2 years, and then maybe end up having to go somewhere else again. You want to go someplace where you're on a staff that you trust, that you know that you can put some fulfillment and some work ethic behind. That they're going to do the same for you. That's huge, And so in that process, when I was reaching out to different schools, I reached out to a couple of JUCOs down in Kansas, and they were willing to offer me the job. And I reached out to a couple other Division III schools, one in Pennsylvania, but the one up here, looking at the conference, they told me they moved into this new conference that was much more competitive. Whoever basically wins this conference goes on to the first round of playoffs, and their first opponent is usually Whitewater. So that's a pretty big opponent at the Division III level. So I was like, okay, well, so this isn't, some slack around D3 football. Like, it seems like it's pretty competitive, good football. And I looked into the different schools in the conference and what kind of, offenses and defenses they run. And it was all stuff that I could tell was definitely legitimately competitive. And, looking at Carroll University, they had just moved into it. Their first 2 seasons was rough. They went 1-9 first 2 seasons. And that was before I had even got here. And then my first season here, we went 3-7. So there was some improvement. But, there were still some things that we wish we could have improved on. However, this is where I've said, you have to be a salesman. It doesn't play a huge role on who you can get to come and play at your program, because a lot of the other programs in this conference, they've got some pretty legitimate competition for us from a recruitment standpoint. They have a lot of the bells and whistles, but not only that, they just, from a GPA, financial aid, all these different things play into a role rather than Division I level. You can say, here, 4-year free scholarship. You're going to get a degree in whatever you want. At the D3 level, there's so many different things that play into it. As far as, it's a real battle and scratch and tear for the recruitment side of things. But, I could see that Carroll's definitely got some things going their way. We got a new athletic director who's big on football. We also got a new president this past year who's really big on football. And so they actually hired some people to come out and check our university out, and so that they can kind of figure out, what else financially that they need to start doing to put towards our football program, because they know that it's going to be the next big moneymaker for our university. But, I'm really excited about a lot of things that are going on here, and, I see a lot of potential here, and I saw it before I even got, after I had my first interview here. So, I figured it was definitely a place where I could definitely kick off my coaching career and feel comfortable doing so. So
that's sweet, man. That's good. Now, okay, so did your school move up from an AIA, or did they recently Or how long have you been competing in that conference?
It was just conferences, so we've been in this conference. This is going to be I believe our fourth year in this conference, or fourth or fifth year, I'm pretty sure. Technically going into the fifth year, if going into 2020. So we'll be going to our fifth year going into this conference. The conference that we were in before, so we were always Division III. But they were in the conference below this, and I'm still in the process of learning all the different names of the Division III conference. But the big ones are the WEAC and the MEAC. So the MEAC being Minnesota and WEAC being Wisconsin. The WEAC is a big one, and so we are part of the CCIW, which is a part of the WEAC conference things. It's kind of interesting. I'm still, like I said, learning how everything's put together. But I know we're part of the CCIW, which is a part of the WEAC conference, and like I said, usually champion of this conference ends up playing Whitewater first round of playoffs. So, I can see, there's a lot of good competitive teams that, were able to kind of put up somewhat of a battle against Whitewater walking out going in the first round of playoffs. Teams like Wheaton, North Central, Wash U, that's down in St. Louis, Carthage. There's some good teams in this conference. I think if we just get the funds that we need, which I believe our president Nadir will put forth, then we'll be able to kind of put something together there. But so like I said, I'm still kind of getting the conferences and everything kind of situated. But we've been Division III ever since. Cool fact: Carroll University was actually the first university institutionalized in the state of Wisconsin.
Oh, cool! Nice,
some good history too.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah. Okay, so you mentioned Whitewater. I played at Otterbein in the conference with Mount Union. Yeah. So very familiar with perennial powers. At that level. So we got our butts kicked by them. So
Otterbein is right next to where I'm from back home. Actually, I went to Olentangy Liberty High School.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So I'm like, I had a couple buddies that went and played at Otterbein too. And, that was one place that I was actually kind of reaching out to originally in this whole process of trying to get into coaching, but they didn't really have any openings for a new coaching position. And, I kind of could tell that in order to earn a full-time there, I was going to have to kind of go through the process I'm going through now to kind of legitimize myself and put it on a resume. So.
Yeah, that's awesome that you're doing it that way, man. That's really cool. I really like that. James, you got any questions?
Yeah, obviously it's been, you're busy coaching, but have you had the opportunity to check out any UC games on TV?
Yeah. No, it's been frustrating because our first game we had was against Lakeland, so that was, I believe, 3 weeks ago. I'm trying to think clearly. I think 3 weeks ago. Yeah. And during that game, right in the middle of it, I knew UC was playing Ohio State, so I was kind of trying to keep tabs on that game, like at halftime and at the end of the game, kind of see what was going on. I was bummed out, but I went back and I rewatched that game, and it looked like UC was putting up a fight. However, they it didn't seem like that on the scoreboard, but I could definitely see on the field that those guys that I played with. When I was there, and those guys that I helped coach while I was there, they still had that tenacity and effort that, especially that Coach Fickle has really emphasized into that program. You could see that they were playing with that, which I was really happy to see. Even when they got in the third and fourth quarter, they weren't, giving up or trying to, dog the way out of it. They were still fighting. So I was really happy to see that when I rewatched the game. But it's been tough trying to keep up with the scores and all the different games. I was really happy to see the Miami score. Always am happy to see that score. Glad to keep the bell where it belongs. It's nice to have a bye week going into this Marshall game this upcoming Saturday. I think they'll be able to handle business pretty well. I was watching I watched the Marshall and Ohio University game, and I was rooting for Ohio University. I had some buddies who went there. My high school coach, he's pretty close with the coaching staff there at Ohio University too. So I was rooting for Ohio University, but they can't pull it out. So I think based off watching that game, not trying to talk badly about Marshall football's program, but I think UC's program will be able to handle them just fine. I don't think they have quite the secondary or quite honestly, the defensive front that's going to be able to really, cause any problems for UC's offense.
Definitely agree with you. I was going to say, yeah, they're a good program. They're a solid program, but
Right.
UC should be able to handle them. I mean, it's kind of fun.
Absolutely.
If I said there's, of course, the UC Marshall game, there's going to be a team that is 2-1, and they just won a game against a MAC team for a bell. You would think I was talking about UC, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but they actually Miami or Marshall is in the exact same boat. They also play OU for a bell, and of course,
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's not as nice looking as the UC one because of course it hasn't been as round for as long. But yeah, it's still a pretty neat trophy that they have, and a nice rivalry between the two schools.
Yeah, but I did not know. I didn't even know that was actually a rivalry between them. But that's interesting. Yeah, the UC Miami bell. That's awesome. I'm interested about that. I have to look into that as far as what the bell looks like. But that's cool.
So with doing the coaching, what is a normal week like for you?
It's busy. I'd say I could speak from when I was helping out at Cincinnati. I was taking a lot of classes still, so I was part-time student, part-time assistant coach, so I wasn't really able to fully indulge myself into the coaching lifestyle that way as much as I really wanted to. I wish I had taken more online classes during that period, but I probably would have ended up putting myself in a situation where I could have fell behind academically. But from where I'm at now, it was pretty eye-opening when I first got here. I didn't realize that, I forgot the fact that it was going from D1 to D3 and that I didn't have nearly as much help that you got at that D1 level, which, like I said, that was what I was looking for. I was looking for something humbling that was going to kind of, give me that kick in the leg that was going to make sure, I start getting after it as a coach and kind of take out that support stem off of me so I could kind of start rolling. But on a day-to-day basis, Monday through Friday, I'd say game planning for the next week really starts that Sunday morning, the next day after a game. So I'd say we get in the office usually, like today I got in the office about, I'm trying to think, around 7 a.m. Was doing film and, grading from the game before, all the way up until, probably about 11:30 after I got done with grading and going over the opponent's scout film, making sure we get all the fronts, stunts, blitzes, and things handled from an offensive game planning standpoint. Had to get all that handled. And then, we have our staff meeting. We actually had an event today, too. We do a thing once every year where we have disabled kids, mentally disabled, come out and spend some time with us. And we do a bunch of different little fun drills and stuff like that with them, and then we'll kind of give them like a throwback jersey that they can keep, and it's kind of like a cool 4-hour thing. We have a lot of kids that show up for it, and it's really, really fun. And in that process, we bring in our entire football team, and so that kind of took up a majority of our time. So I didn't get out of the office today until probably around 7 p.m., so it was a good 12-hour day, because once that was over, then we were back in the office, recruiting, making our phone calls to our kids that we're still trying to reach out and get up here for game day visits, kind of express our interests, things like that. And then afterwards, sitting down and kind of going over kind of a sketch of how our game plan is probably going to end up looking for the week. And then I'll be back in the office again tomorrow morning about, thinking Mondays we usually get in there about 7:30. And you get back to rolling at it again. So then we'll be kind of finalizing that game plan, and then immediately start putting together, our scout defense, how we want it done, and what we're going to be able to need to do so that we get the best look possible. And then our offensive coordinator and our run game coordinator start kind of putting together what they think they want to get done on the field from both standpoints, pass and run, and how we want to work against it. And then at that point, we're just putting it all on paper, and then we're calling it out and playing it as is and trying to get as many reps of it as possible so we can get our guys situated and ready after we've kind of put our adjustments in and gotten everything written, drawn in stone. So then Monday through Friday, basically, we're in the office and on the field practicing. I think we get done with practice usually about 5:30. After 5:30, back in the office, trying to, make some text, phone calls, emails out to recruits and coaches till probably about 7:30, and then out the door again, and going back home, eating some dinner, and getting back up and doing it all over again. But
oh wow,
I love it. So to me, it's crazy because it's 12, 13-hour days, but I really, really enjoy it. So to me, going to practice, I don't consider work. Going over game plan, I don't really consider that work. That's fun. That's to me, that's like sitting there and playing chess, kind of putting pieces together and figuring out what you want to put together in order to make stuff happen. And then the only part that really seems like work is having to stay organized with recruiting. That's the tough part, because then you have to be able to remember every kid's name out of I recruit the whole 608 area, so I'm in charge of the entire Madison, Wisconsin area. And it's crazy how many high schools there are out here, out in the 608 area, especially because the state runs pretty far north. And the further north it gets, we have 8-man high school football out here. So, it's kind of crazy, but even you find some kids on there. If the kid's playing quarterback, that's usually the kid you want to recruit in an 8-man football, because he's probably the most talented kid on the field. So even still, I reach out to kids like that, and some of those kids hardly ever use a cell phone, so I'm having to email and get a hold of their coaches as best I possibly can. So it's a crazy process, but that part I would consider a little bit of work, because that can be kind of tough as far as getting the communications in stone. But once I get a kid on the phone, I enjoy that too. That's all sales, and I did some internships in college, and I really enjoyed sales. So.
Oh, nice. Where did you do sales at?
I did an internship with Integrity Express Logistics down in Cincinnati. I worked for a man named Pat Doherty, who was my broker there. It was a really cool experience. He was a diehard UC fan, so I found out that the reason they really picked me to kind of do my internship with him was because of the fact that he knew that I played UC football. But it was a really cool experience. I helped him make well over $1,000 within, the time span of 2.5 months. And then I did another internship with a sales company called Uprooted Consulting that was in an office kind of right there across from the casino down in Cincinnati. That was after my sophomore year, and I worked in energy sales, business-to-business energy sales. So during that process, I hit all 4 of my bonuses. That was a really cool experience. That was like straight up blue collar sales. That was my first really dipping my toes in sales. Having to wear a suit and tie and literally walk business to business and go in the door and try and get them to pull out an energy bill and kind of explain to them how you're going to try and help them save money. And believe me, I got booted out the door quite a few times, but
oh god, it can be a rough one.
Yeah. I got the boot there a few times, but it was good for me, because that learned for me how to handle a kid saying no. I look back at that now, and I'm like, I see some of these other coaches who just start into this business, and they're scared to pick up the phone and call a kid sometimes, and I'm like, man, the worst they can possibly tell you is no, and that's not that big of a deal. Trust me, it's a lot harder when you're standing there in a suit and tie in 100-degree heat, you're sweating your balls off, and this dude just looks like he might have a gun underneath the counter. That's a little bit different, Well, here you're just having to pick up the phone and just call a kid and just see what he has to say, every now and then. And to me, I love that. That's way easier. So, I enjoyed sales quite a bit, but from looking back on it, I think that really helped prepare me for coaching, because as I've learned from several coaches, you can't just coach football. You have to be able to sell a program and recruit. If you can recruit, you can do just about anything. But that's the biggest piece, majority of the time, especially at the Division I level too. Coaches will hire other coaches just because they're really good at recruiting, even if they don't know a lick about what position group they might be working with. That coach might not know a thing about how to run a route, you might know a couple things about special teams or how to hit somebody, but, you know, if he knows how to recruit, you know, and he can get a kid to decide to go to you instead of going to Alabama, then, well, you know, you might as well work here. You know what I mean? So
exactly,
it's kind of crazy seeing that, but it plays a huge role in any program. So.
Definitely. So it sounds like things are really going great with your new university. Obviously, you're very busy, like you said, with, of course, coaching and being a student. When you were a student at UC, did you get an opportunity to go to any of the fun events? Like on the 4th, which will be a Friday, they're going to have the UCF game, and then they're going to do the Midnight Madness, which they bring in back. Did you ever get a chance to do any of that fun, like Midnight Madness stuff?
I never really. I guess when I was playing, not really. When I was playing, majority of the time, if there was an event going, unless it was football related, you know, then I would try and do something. But majority of the time, I would back when I was playing, I was like, if I wasn't playing football, then I was usually either eating or I was rolling out, band stretching, lifting, or I was sitting somewhere in my room trying to do homework with the AC all the way on, like all the way up, so that I could just try and ice my body up and, you know, watch a movie or play some video games and go to sleep. So I was playing. I don't remember going to any events, but when I was a student there, and just being an assistant coach, I tried to go to a few different events here and there. I never really got heavily involved because, like I said, I was just so on track with trying to be a football coach that if it didn't involve, you know, football or didn't really involve anything that was going to help me academically, the majority of the time I was kind of situated myself trying to make sure I was getting myself ready for the next day of football. Because, you know, I had to be in there, like, during the winter especially, when they have their mat drills, you know, they got to be in there at 5 a.m. So that meant coaching staff had to be there by 4:30 a.m., ready to go, hopping up on caffeine. So I look back and I'm trying to think of any real, student body things I was able to be a part of. You know, I never really got to really embrace a ton of that, but that was more so kind of my own doing, so.
So, Mark, you got any final thoughts or questions?
No, I wish you luck, man. I really respect you going about doing this. You know, take some time, drop down to D3, and take a look at the way the other side lives. I think that's really smart. It's just going to help you in the long run. So I wish you the best of luck, man, and we'll keep tabs on you and see how you're doing.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate that a lot.
It's our pleasure. We greatly appreciate you being on the show, Luke. Before we let you go, any social media, any websites, anything like that you want people to follow you on?
I guess if people want to follow me at Twitter, my Twitter should be I believe it's at Coach Luke Callahan. I'd have to look at that again. Originally, it used to be. I remember in high school, I made my Twitter account when I was in high school, and I titled it Mr. Luke Callahan. So when I got the new coaching gig, I decided to change it to Coach Luke Callahan. So I believe that's my Twitter handle now. That's usually where I promote and post a lot of my stuff as far as what I got going on professionally. Other than that, not so much. I will be having actually something on Facebook that I will be trying to send out. So if you guys have Facebook, please add me as a friend. My name's Luke Callahan, I believe. I've got you, James, as a friend already because we were able to connect that way. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be hosting an event on October 19th. This is kind of something else that's kind of a crazy curveball here into the recording, but I was actually recently diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. So that was kind of an interesting topic. I had to be hospitalized for a little bit early back in July, but I'm battling through it. I lost some vision in my left eye, but I've been handling it pretty well. I've been doing a lot of things to kind of help myself out as far as diet and things. I've done a lot of research into it to help myself out, but because of this, it inspired me a lot to do a fundraiser for MS and trying to help John Hopkins MS research facility and kind of helping them find ways to help battle MS. So my my goal right now, we actually already set the date. I spoke with my head coach and our athletic director, and we've got it passed. Right now, we're just working with the marketing office at Carroll University, and we're going to be hosting a Facebook group. I'm inviting everybody that possibly can. I'll invite you guys, and we're going to be trying to promote MS Awareness, which is really cool too because our school colors are orange and navy blue. Well, the MS Awareness color is orange. So for that game, our football team has actually accepted that they want to wear all orange uniforms for the event.
Oh, cool.
And I've reached out to MS for MS, which is a group that helps promote a lot of these things. They work especially really close with sporting events. They help give out a lot of their gear to people at sporting events so they can wear it and promote it. And so they're going to be giving us a bunch of terrible towels, wristbands, T-shirts, and a couple footballs all signed by the whole football team. And we're going to be doing some fundraising for MS on October 19th at our home game against North Central. So really excited about that. Really kind of excited to see what kind of results we can get out of it. But, we're going to be promoting that as much as we possibly can to try and see how many people we can show up for that game, So,
well, good luck with that, man. Good luck.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Definitely, yeah. Anything we can ever do to help, yeah, if you're ever doing an event in, in Cincinnati, in the tri-state area, we are more than happy to have you on my other show. I do a show on ESPN 1530 in Cincinnati and 1460 in Columbus. So we're definitely, anything we can ever do to help. That is a great cause, and we wish you the best.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, next time I'm back home, I'll definitely be hitting you up. So that'd be awesome.
Sounds great. Well, we enjoyed having you on the show. Thank you, Luke.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Have a great night, guys.
Thanks, Luke.